you know, share your life,
Good, good. Thank
you
you so
know.
much. So, Father, just what we'll repeat again because we just started recording. This is our eighth session of We Are Pilgrims on this Earth. We've taken the journey this evening to St. Tikhon's Monastery in South Canaan and Hierodeacon, correct? We have Father Deacon David is our tour guide, Xenogos in the Greek, taking us through. You're sitting on the grounds of the monastery, right, at the moment?
Yes, yes, I'm actually on the back side of the house within which I live. I thought to go down to the bookstore, but this was, it's nice out this evening.
Good,
The
good.
bugs aren't eating, so that's good.
And I just to mention again that and I've seen this before. I've used it in flyers that I've made when we've brought pilgrims up to the monastery. That it is the place where saints have walked. That there are 5 saints at Saint Tikhon's that are an integral part of its history. Patriarch Tikhon, Saint Tikhon, Patriarch of Moscow. He started the school, but then was called back to Moscow, right, to become the hierarch
Yeah. He
in.
founded the monastery first, and then the first seminary was opened up in Minneapolis.
I see, I
They
see,
opened one up in Tenafly, New Jersey, which became the seminary across the street from us,
I see.
St. Tikhon Seminary.
Open the monastery, 1905. You had said correct, right? And
Yeah.
then the other 4 saints were a priest who died in the Bolshevik Revolution, right? Father Alexander Hodzevitsky,
Mhm. Yes.
Father Alexis Toth, who led hundreds and hundreds of Byzantine Catholics back to the home in Orthodoxy, um, and Father Raphael Hawawini, who was a dean
He
or
was
just a professor.
no,
Saint.
he was the first bishop of the Syro-Arab church in Brooklyn.
Right, and the first bishop elevated or
Yes.
ordained in America. Yeah,
Yes.
too. So many ties with the beginning of the church, and then the last saint that you mentioned, beloved uh, Saint Nikolai Velimirovich of Zika. He was an instructor. Was he also had an administrative role?
Uh, I do believe he was simply the dean, and he
Indeed.
taught at the
Okay.
seminary. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's like Father, he had Father John Parker's job.
Yeah. You mentioned also the miracle working icon, streaming icon of Saint Anna that is there, that has a relic of Saint Anna in it as well, and
Yes.
belonged to a very blessed. Um, he was a priest monk, right, Father
Yes. Mhm.
Afanasi.
Yeah, he was archimandrite.
And now you're telling us the story of one of the
Of me.
up and coming saints of Saint Tikhon.
Oh, God help us all. Well, when I was all right, so my parents converted in San Diego. I was 4 years old probably when we started coming to the church. I was 6 when I was baptized. It's back in 1992. My father wanted to come to seminary here at St. Tikhon's eventually, so we finally made it out and lived here from 1998 to 2000, which was my first exposure to St. Tikhon's. I was 12 and 13 years old at the time. Since then, we moved to Colorado, where my father was assigned to the parish of St. Herman of Alaska. And then that's basically where I became who I am when God got his hand on me and invited me back, so to speak, to the monastery. I was 18. I came here, lasted 6 weeks, uh, and that was it. Went back to the world, but I was a different person. I plugged into the Brotherhood of St. George in Denver. I don't know if you are
Oh,
familiar with
yeah.
Father Christodolos Papadeus.
Father Christolovus was very instrumental in my going to the seminary. I
Oh,
was in my first year of marriage living in Philadelphia, and he came down with my best friend in Kumbaro, who had gone to the seminary just to visit for the day. And I was just couldn't have had a better first impression with Father Christodolos, and that
yes.
helped the process a great deal.
So my father is a very wise pastor, and he knew what was happening within me. And so he connected me to Father Christodolos in Denver, and he became my spiritual father for a number of years. Eventually, I came out to New York to work for Metropolitan Jonah, the former Metropolitan of the OCA. And then I was able to go back to Colorado for nursing school in Colorado Springs. I finished that in 2012, and I had a contract with the hospital for 2 years, at the end of which it was probably about 5 or 6 months until I was going to complete that contract. I bought a plane ticket to St. Tikhon's because I knew I was coming back. And it's interesting, when I purchased the ticket, it was without the knowledge that the day of my flight was August 13th, which is the day we remember St. Tikhon of Zidonsk,
Mm,
our patron. So I was
remarkable.
I was picked up at the airport in early in the morning, and we arrived here, and I went straight into liturgy for our patronal feast day.
Wow.
So I've been here since uh, this last August will be the completion of nine years this time. So well, what I was going to say about the personal thing before we started recording was that twice in my life I've had cancer. I've survived it both times. Uh, the first time I was 15, and the second time I was 27, so 10 years ago. Those, I always thought the first time, like a few years after, that I would get it again. There was something in me telling me that. And it was years later that I did. But the reason I bring that up is because what happened the second time would not have happened if I hadn't had it the first time. The way that you're treated is differently in everything.
Uh,
And so how that played out, basically sitting at the gates of death, my own mortality, and being, forgive me, raised to life again.
yeah,
And so for me, it was, what shall I render to the Lord
yeah,
for all that He has given me? And so for me, the only authentic response to experiencing God's love in that type of affliction was to give it back completely. And so I did. And now I'm here. So that's sort of the one of the main drivers of my becoming a monk, um, was the cancer. And so for me, it is one of the greatest gifts I have received in my life. That might sound strange to hear, but cancer is a gift. And the thanks be to God, when I was 18, so 3 years after the first time, God had a hold of me. And with the monastic inclinations that I had and the formation I received from my own father and Father Christodolos, and my own reading and praying and living the liturgical and sacramental life of the church, I was prepared as much as one can be for the second go. And so, as like Father Zacharias talks a lot about, giving thanks in illness uh, is one of the most precious things we can do. And so I had the opportunity to try that
mm,
in sort of the worst situation I could be in. So thanks be to God. Uh, I'm here and trying to suffer for Jesus at St. Tikhon. It's the best that I can by giving my life to the people here, the brothers here, and to the greater Orthodox community, uh, which we are all striving to do here at St. Tikhon's. One of our main works is publication of liturgical books, uh, books for priests and deacons, as well as music books like sheet music for choirs for all of the different music that we sing. And so I'm involved in a lot of those projects.
which includes Byzantine.
Yeah, there's some Byzantine stuff, definitely, but then not like what you just sang, Father, at the beginning of this. It's more of the Americanized versions, like even more, you
Mhm.
know. But
I
yeah, so
I tell people, Father, that I I have not heard worship any more beautiful anywhere in the United States or in this hemisphere than at St. Tikhon's.
thanks be to God.
It really is such a great experience, and so I think if we have some time to show um, uh, some of the pictures, I know one of them is accompanied with the choir singing. I think it's one of the more recent works that was produced. It sounds to me a little bit more modern, and so coming from Benedict, uh,
Okay,
but
yeah, yeah,
but it just is so beautiful. So,
yeah,
but however you wanted to go forward from here, we have not yet had anyone who's actually lived in a monastery and in a place of pilgrimage to speak about their life there. So this is a real treat for us that we have you, and would love to hear a little bit more about the
sure.
life of monastics. Some of us have visited monasteries over the years, looking at the people that I know uh, on tonight. Others have not, have hardly visited ever, and it might be nice to just hear what the life, the rhythm is of a monastic family.
Sure. I will say as well that I mean you're on pilgrimage now via Zoom, and you're a huge proponent for going actually to Egypt and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, even we monks go on pilgrimage. There's something about, I'm sure you've explained it yourself, uh, sacrificing your resources and your time and your effort in order to draw near to Christ who has sanctified a place, because that's when we have Christ within us, everything around us becomes sanctified. And holy places are holy, not simply because, I mean, of course, because the Lord and the Panagia and the saints walk there, but other people have also drawn the Lord down into them and have the life of the Holy Trinity in their heart, transfiguring all the space around them. And most of the saints, we don't even know who they are, right? Those known and unknown. And so when we make the effort to go visit these places, we are connected in just another way to the body of Christ, because we're one. Christ is one, right? And so all of our treasures here at St. Tikhon's are yours. And if I may say, yours are mine. But
Yes.
everywhere, Mount Sinai is for all of us,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Mount Athos is for all of us. I mean, the fruits, of course, the women can't go there, but all of these holy places are for everybody. It's the body. Our treasures are yours and theirs are ours, and we have the opportunity to partake of that and meet God in a special way. And then it changes our perspective a little bit when we go back to the normal, things of our life. But now we see things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We've God has revealed himself in a little bit different way that's sort of changed the Rubik's cube of our mind to kind of in our hearts to behold him now in a where you normally are in a different way. It's wonderful. Uh, I, Let me just describe St. Tikhon's a little bit more. this is sort of an abnormal place in that when most people think of monastery, they think of very far removed from the world, very quiet, calm, peaceful sort of rhythm to their life. Here, it can be very, very hectic. And it was common in Russian monasticism to have seminaries connected to monasteries, uh, because the only way you can knowledge is experience. Experience is knowledge. You can read about the services of the church and all of the theology, but if you don't experience those things by living them, by being in a place that serves the daily cycle of services and liturgy every day, and trying to live a life of prayer, and you know, as happens in a monastery, to know God, to really experience God. So that so to say it was common for those things to be together in Russian monasticism. Saint Tikhon, our founder, was from Moscow, Patriarch of Moscow, and he had the same idea. Plus, evangelizing America, of course, we needed seminaries to train priests. So we have a road, St. Tikhon's Road, and on one side is the monastery, and the other side is the seminary. And so the monastery side, obviously, we're monks. On the other side of the street is a turnover every year with new people coming in all the time, and they're married, eventually clergy, but they're married and millions of children, it feels like, in church.
Yeah.
So there's a closer proximity to what they're bringing in to the monastic environment. So it can be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more difficult, uh, especially if you come to the monastery thinking that it's supposed to be like this, quiet, nobody talks, everybody's very exact, and all these sorts of things. So those idols need to be broken down, and that's one of the great benefits of having this other dynamic, is that if you're aware of this, its ability to do that, then you can very knowingly break down your own idols of things much quicker. And Saint Sophrony, he says, you know, in a brotherhood, basically every single personality in that brotherhood represents, you know, the thousands of people that have that personality, the thousands of people that have this personality, or millions of people, right? So when you learn to love this type of person and this type of person and this type of person, then that can be extended to basically everybody that you've come across in your life. So because of the dynamic of the seminary and having so many people come through here all the time, if it's approached correctly, I believe uh, it's that much more exposure to so many different people and situations by which, you know, the rust on my own heart can be rubbed off, because everybody's going to is just a little bit different. And so it's just like the pilgrimage. It shows you something different, because we're never done. We're never complete. We're always working on it. Only God is immutable, right? He's without changing, but we change all the time, especially in our fallen condition. So there's always work to be done. And having more and more people come through here allows a finer honing of that potentially, uh, if you're able to, you know, perceive that that's happening and grab onto it and engage in it. So that's it. It doesn't. I mean, you don't come here thinking like that. It takes you getting beat down over and over again by your idols and your expectations. Uh, it takes some years. For example, speaking of, you know, we the fathers tell us that the seat of the fall is in the will of man. So I was mowing grass every single week for a couple years, except during winter. You're just like, oh, why am I mowing the grass again? Why isn't he mowing the grass ever? You're just sitting over there on the chair, again and again mowing the grass. But eventually I realized, thanks be to God, that it wasn't grass that I was mowing. It was my will. I was mowing my will. And then when that when the Lord allowed me to see that, it made me, I mean, and over time that sort of thing expanded a little bit. Um, Everything that we see is an external manifestation of somebody's internal reality, right? God spoke and it came into being. And when somebody builds a house, for example, somebody designed that in their head and then drew it down and then built it, right? So everything manifests something else. So that was the mowing the grass, that I wasn't mowing grass. It was just my will. And every time I was asked to do something, I mean, I still struggle, of course, but every time I'm asked to do something, I try and see it's the thing itself doesn't matter. It's simply my will being shaped in a situation, and that's all it is. And I try and deny my will by doing the will of my abbot and the fathers and brothers, and that's to train me ultimately. Thy will be done, God's will be done. Uh, but it starts if I can't get my will in line with those who are right in front of me. This is what marriage is too. It's the exact same thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Well, like a lot of these things just don't matter that you're asked to do, or please do this. Don't you think it's might be silly, but it has nothing to do with the thing. It's all with the will and for the love of that relationship and ultimately for God. So forgive me for talking so much.
No, 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 this is all just wonderful. Just a couple of reflections on what you have said. I've often told groups when we've gone to the Holy Land, as amazing as it will be to venerate all of these sanctified places and icons and whatever is connected and associated with the Lord, the Mother of God, and the saints of this place. You will still, when you come away, you'll appreciate the most the people that you met there, the people that God has brought there, especially in the Holy Land. So many of those people, similar to you in a way, Father, they went just to stay for a short while. They didn't intend to stay for forever. And then God's the reality of his love and the opportunity to offer themselves more fully to him opens up to them, and then they end up staying. And it's just been so true that the pilgrimages that we've taken, we are some of the biggest takeaways are the people that we've met and how inspired we are by them. But one of those things that inspires me so much, and I think so many of us, is when I visit monasteries to see how all of the sisters in a convent or the brothers in a monastery, how much they love each other, uh, how civilly they live for one another. One of the priests in our archdiocese who spent a lot of time in Greece, Father Anthony Salzman, says Mount Athos is the most civilized place in the world. Not because it has the most technology, but because it has the people that truly live this life of serving the other. So I always come back feeling renewed in how to be a better husband and how to be a better father and how to be a better parish priest and spiritual father from my exposure with the brotherhood and the sisterhood there. Betty, do you raise your hand to ask a question or out?
I want to say we have here usually about 20 in residence that live here at St. Tikhon's. I don't think it's ever been more than that. And I'm not sure if we could handle more than that at the moment. We'd have to build more houses and things to house them. But I will tell you, we are currently, I don't know if you've seen it, Father. We're building an icon school. There's a building going up to my left over there. That's going to be a place. It's got a chapel as well that's being built with it. It's going to be a professional iconography school. We have two iconographers from Russia, very famous over there, that have come, and they're going to be doing the instruction and all of that. So that's new and up and coming here. So that's pretty exciting. So that was built. We have a couple guys coming to try out the life, the monastic life. So things are growing. We just today, hundreds of plants were planted in our new waterfall pond thing that's
Oh,
out
wonderful.
in front
Good.
of the monastery. So if those sorts of things can be seen on I believe the Facebook page would be my guess. That's what Father Sergius puts things up there to see the
Would
all
you
the
like
develop.
me to go now
Sure, yeah, we could.
you can
Sure,
continue talking, but I'll find it first and then
yeah.
I'll bring it
So
up in front of us.
so that's been going on. That was begun back, I think, almost a year ago, and it won't be done until probably next spring when all of these plants have gone dormant for winter, and then will come up again for when that bloom happens next spring. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so beautiful. We what else have we been doing? All of the music books that we've been making, that I've been involved in. I currently so I would oh we Here's something. We have the St. Tikhon's music residency program. It's 2 semesters, and the Benedict it's under Benedict Sheehan and Maria Sheehan, uh, and it has to do with conducting, vocal performance, composition, musicianship, all of these things. So it's a graduate level certificate program. Father Sergius, he came to me last year and said, "You're taking this program." Like, oh, how am I going to do this? A graduate level music program. I don't have any background in music, but thank God I put in the work, had the blessing of obedience, and I finished that music program last May.
Oh,
My
wonderful.
my capstone project for that was I fully composed the Paraclesis, a brand new composition for the Paraclesis to the Mother of God.
Oh, my heavens.
So that'll be being published, hopefully, God willing, soon. And Father Christodolos, I reason I brought him up earlier is because I have that connection because of him to the Paraclesis. He was
Oh,
my
sure.
exposure to that, and it was a huge part of my own development. And it was something, the Paraclesis is not known in Slavic tradition churches. They do it, in the Slavic traditions, they do akatists. But in the Greek practice, the Paraclesis happens all the time. And
Yeah,
so I
it
wanted
is.
to I wanted to extend to those who are unfamiliar with it what I received from the Greek Paraclesis, but in a musical arrangement that was more akin to the chants within the Russian tradition. So it's 2 parts, just like the Byzantine version, except it's according to like it sounds more like Znameni chant, which is the traditional chant in the Russian musical tradition, monastic. Anyway, I don't mean to try and sell this off, but just to say that things are constantly happening like that here at St. Tikhon's.
Would there be some pictures that might be posted having to do with that, or would I need to go into the website maybe to find that?
That
I was looking. But, oh,
that's
here, let
going to
me
be
go into albums and see.
Yeah, so Father Sergius, you see pictures of him here. He goes out, he takes Saint Anna a lot of places, and that's one of the main works of the abbot is trying to keep the lights on by raising funds. So these are really old that you're looking at now.
Yeah. So maybe he hasn't created an album yet for the.
I would scroll back down maybe to the photos stream that you had before. So we have a museum that's that how the museum used to be very, very large, but there was a lot of things that didn't really belong there. Now it's very curated. Lots of holy icons, vestments of Saint Nikolai, Saint Innocent of Alaska, Saint Nikolai, or Saint Tikhon. We have gospels that were written by Saint Innocent into the Aleut languages, the Alaskan native languages. We have those in the museum. That looks like an epitafios, but I don't know where that would be. So that right there, that is my favorite thing in the entire museum.
Mm-hmm. Mine too.
Uh, yeah. So this Antiminsian belonged to Saint Herman of Alaska and his company. Upon this is where the liturgy is served on a holy altar, and this is what Saint Herman and the other missionaries that were with him used when they came across all of Siberia in the longest missionary journey in the Orthodox Church history,
Yeah.
all the way to Alaska. So that's an amazing treasure, which is your treasure.
And underneath it is this tree, this the slice of. It's
Yeah.
not a trunk of a tree, but a a portion cut out of the tree that is has like relics planted in it, right, or something along those lines.
Uh,
It's
I'm not sure. I think so. So
uh,
that's just a little Alaska. So you're looking in the Alaska corner, it seems,
okay.
on the next slide, right? So that's a little, when they came, the Native Alaskans have spirit houses in their cemeteries or just all over the place. But of course, that is not going to fly
Right.
when they were all converting. So they're turned them into little chapels and things like that. That I'm not sure whose coffin that is. Forgive me. I'm. We have one monk here, Father Stephen, our guest house, our guest master. He does tours of the museum. He knows all of the ins and outs of everything. So that's some traditional Slavic dress. The Prophet Elias. It's a beautiful icon. Let's see
You,
that that
everything associated with Saint Nicola.
yes, yes. So that's his small Omophorian, his Mandia down there on the right. Wow. Yeah. So these are very old, like a water blessing brush. Looks like a baptismal kit, maybe.
Right.
Across there.
Vestments.
Those are,
Um,
yeah, I think those might be Saint Nikolai's as well. Can you read? Are you able to read that? Oh, it's okay.
I'll go back. What's
Well,
underneath here?
what's the that paper on the bottom right?
Can't make it out, Father.
Okay, I can't either. That's fine. I thought it might tell us whose those were.
Yeah. I'll go through the rest of the pictures a little more quickly.
That right there, that
Go
was
ahead.
Saint Tikhon's Mantia,
Yeah.
as maybe when he was metropolitan, unless that because the metropolitan will wear a blue one and the patriarch will wear a green one. So it could have been the time when he was metropolitan before he became patriarch. Yeah, many of the icons we have that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. Some of the icons in there. Yeah, so if you want to come see all of these things, it's kind of hard to get a grasp on icons when you're not in person with an icon. Perhaps you witnessed that at St. Catherine's on Mount Sinai.
It, so I didn't know, Father, if you wanted to. These are images from different
Yeah,
decades
yeah. So
of
that top,
life of
the
significance.
that picture at the top right there,
Mm-hmm.
1900 to 1910. So this this is the orphanage that it used to be an orphanage here on the grounds. Now it's married student housing, but St. Alexis was instrumental in starting that. That's St. Alexander.
Just trying to keep the picture on that. That's
I
Saint Alexander. Oh, the
Hotovitsky.
next, yeah,
Yeah, the next one.
this one. Yeah,
Hmm. I believe. And the next picture. So there, I believe it's Saint Raphael is right in the middle of that
right.
with the mitre, right in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a small little chapel that used to be here. So the monks tried their hand at dairy farming back in the beginning, uh, and it turned out to be way too much work. The dirt, the soil, and everything here at the time was not very good. Uh, so that's why they decided to do the farming, dairy farming instead, which is common around here. That right there, that picture of the building. So that is now what the church is. It used to be just that without the cupola on the top and everything. And that entire building, the church that you've been in, Father Theodore, the chapel was pushed all the way to the east side where the altar area is now. And then there was rooms and a kitchen. Basically, the living space was all contained in there. So that was the first building that went up at St. Tikhon's.
I heard that. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, and so that's the side of it. So there used to be an entrance on the side of it, which is no longer there, both of those.
Yeah, yeah. I realized I can now can picture that.
Yeah.
One of the
That right there was a church, I think, of the Nativity of the Mother of God that burned down
oh,
many years ago. And it said that it used to have a crystal cross on the very top that it could be seen for miles in all directions. But we don't know where that is. So here, this picture, that's a good picture.
yeah.
Saint Tikhon right in the middle, and then Saint Raphael on the right, and Bishop Innocent on the left. Not Saint Innocent. I believe he was just part of his synod. That's Saint Alexander Hotovitsky right there.
Let's see. Mhm.
Some of the so the orphanage, right? A lot of children there. That picture there is the old section of the cemetery. So that's one of the not one of the main things, but we have a very large seminary or cemetery here at St. Tikhon's. I'm involved in selling plots and arranging funerals and burials. That's one of my obediences. That little chapel there is used only in like the winter when in the past when the ground was too hard to break. So somebody would be put in there until such a time as the ground could be, opened up.
Interesting.
That's the church again, of course. They had bees, lots of bees. We had one of our monks was still he had it's an apiary, I believe, right? He had
Yeah.
one, but now he's getting a little old, so he had to shut it down.
Mhm. So that was the pictures from 1910 or
Yeah,
1900 to 1910. Um, let's see. I think I close this.
yeah, there it is. And it keeps going.
I can go
Saint
to
Rod.
these photos that
Yeah,
show more recent galleries.
let's see those. Am I in the dark? I know it's getting dark here. I don't know. Can you still
You
see
are,
me on the
you
screen?
are. I wasn't paying attention to your picture, but yes, you got very dark at once. So here's the inside of the church, right?
Yes. However, these are very, not very, but they're old pictures. So a lot has been done within the church.
Oh,
Changes
right.
have been made. Within the church, we have on the floor of the nave two holy wonder-working icons. One of them, she who is quick to hear, the Mother of God on the left, and on the right is a large icon of Saint Pantaleon. And those two icons were given to the monastery at its founding. And so they used to be, see that? So on the left side, very left side of that picture, that one right there. So that is an icon of Saint Pantaleon, but we exchanged it for She Who Is Quick to Hear, which is up on the iconostas in this picture. We replaced that and put in the other wonder working icon of Saint Pantaleon on the right. So those are accessible now. But they were gifts from Saint Pantaleon's monastery on Mount Athos at the founding of the monastery.
Which is the Russian monastery of Manathos. Manathos is kind of like a miniature orthodoxy. There's many of the 20 main Cenobitic monasteries have monks that come from uh, other places other than just Greece. Like there's a Serbian Orthodox monastery, Hilandari. There's Bulgarian. There's of course Saint Pantaleon, the Russian.
Yeah. In the picture there on the left, all the way left, the second one down. So if you click on that, the priest monk on the left, pictured here in that picture, that's now Bishop Alexis.
All right. Yeah.
So he started at St. Tikhon's, and then he went to Karakalu on the Holy Mountain, and became a great schema and spiritual father and all that there. And now he's returned uh, in order to become the Bishop of Alaska. Yeah, so one of the main tasks of our monastery is the training of future clergymen, uh, choir directors, basically anybody who's going to serve the church. We help and assist in their own formation. It's really dark. Forgive me for being in the
No,
darkness. At least there's some light there.
if everyone were to go to the view and they put it on speaker, to get a little better view of you, we can still make out your teeth and your
My
glasses.
teeth.
So it is 8 o'clock, Father, and I just want to be respectful of your time.
Uh, Forgive me. I know that this was short notice, so we didn't have any pictures, like good pictures I could show you. But if you go to the Facebook page, those are being updated a lot, and you can see what's happening here as far as the upbuilding of the externals. And if you want to come partake of the internal reality of this place, please come. We have guest houses for families, for men, women, and you're welcome to come and share in our life. And we would be happy to have you. And it's a wonderful place just to come for a couple days and rejuvenate in the grace of this holy place.
It truly is. Eastern Pennsylvania has just so many remarkable places for pilgrimage, and it's I think it's a stronghold of Orthodoxy. There are more Orthodox parishes in the state of Pennsylvania than in any other state. I guess that just had to do with immigration, what jobs were available. But could I ask, Father, if anyone has a quick question they
Sure,
might want to ask
absolutely.
you? Anyone from everything you've heard from Father David, or even an impression that you got from listening to him tonight?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yes.
You mentioned guest houses. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Do people come there to experience the environment, or do they come there because they have questions about their faith? Like, how does that work, Father?
Uh, both of the things you mentioned are reasons why people come here. Basically, you would stay in the guest house and you would come to the services and walk the grounds and just relax, it's a place to be at peace and to allow things to settle within you. And then we have, hiero monks, the priest monks, and other people around that you can meet with and discuss whatever it is that's on your heart and mind. Uh, so yeah, there's counseling, just like Father Theodore would do, except from a different perspective, from a perspective that's monastic. But I
So
don't
women
want to say,
women are allowed to participate there? Is that what you're
oh
saying?
yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, and we have, like I said, we have the seminarians here all the time, and they have their wives and their children, and so it's everybody's here, not just the monks. So we're that's sort of the purpose of this place, is to offer our struggle so that others may partake of the grace that comes from that, right? So we're doing it together, right? We're one body, uh, but we like to hide more. So you might experience it as more of as your own than ours, which is great.
One of the priests that I know has spent many years visiting monasteries and even living there for a while, Father Dimitri Corellis, calls the monasteries spiritual intensive care centers.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great analogy. This is Orthodoxy from the beginning. We didn't, for vacation, Orthodox people wouldn't go to Disneyland,
Yeah.
or,
Hmm.
or, they might stay at the beach, but they'd also go and stay at a monastery, and you just live what the cycle of the rhythm of the life of the monastery. Go to confession, receive, and if you stay more than 2 days, the monks will give you a diaconima, give you something to do to help out to earn your keep, and it's a truly blessed thing, blessed experience. Another real treasure of Orthodox Christianity. We would not be here. The church in the world would not be here if it wasn't for the monastics counterbalancing the temptations that we experience in the world.
We are so grateful for your support. All of the people that support us, that allow us to continue to work on behalf of the church and to the glory of the kingdom of God. I mean, we can't do it without you. So thank you very much for, making this connection, Father. And
No,
now
could
you
I
have to
be
come
so bold as to ask if we could have you back again another time
if
to
you'd
speak?
like. Sure.
That would be great. But in respect to and in obedience to the abbot Sergius, we'll end now. If I could ask you, Father, just to offer us a closing prayer.
Glory to thee, our God. Glory to thee. We thank thee, Lord, that thou hast brought us together this evening and for our time together, that we might share in thy glory and come to know thee more through the love that thou hast shown us, that we might love others as thou hast loved us. The prayers of our holy fathers, O Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us. Amen. Forgive me.
No, no, thank you so much, Father. Really, just great to have had this experience tonight.